If you use really complicated sounding vocabulary in your IELTS writing, will it guarantee you a high writing score? Maybe, maybe not. When I was in high school, my English teacher taught me an unforgettable lesson about writing. She handed us a model essay and asked us to give it a score out of 10. It had words like plethora and inculcate and doctrinaire. The vocabulary looked amazing, so we all said 10 out of 10, but she said 2 out of 10. Why? Because the vocabulary didn't make any sense. Vocabulary accounts for 25% of your score, and one of the key aspects of vocabulary is word choice. Let's take a look at what IELTS scoring says about word choice. For a 9, you need sophisticated word choice, words that are very clearly connected to the topic and very expertly used. For an 8, it's kind of similar to a 9, but there will be occasional inaccuracies or really small mistakes that you might make. For a 7, there will be some errors in your word choice, but you'll generally show an understanding of English vocabulary. For a 6, your ideas might be clear, but more commonly, you're just choosing the wrong word. So what is word choice? Word choice is using the right word at the right time to get the right meaning. So the word has to be right, not a complicated or fancy sounding word. If you use a complicated or fancy sounding word because you think it sounds sophisticated, but the meaning is imprecise, your score is going to come down. Take a look at this question prompt. It says, smoking should be banned in all public places. Do you agree or disagree with this statement? Now, take a look at this introduction. It's perfect. Many people smoke, despite the fact that it is harmful to their health. To date, smoking has been banned in many public places, but not all. There are still areas where people can smoke. Has the time come to prohibit smoking everywhere except for private properties? I believe it has, for the 2 key reasons that smoking affects non-smokers and impacts the environment. This introduction is spot on. It's on topic, the grammar is clear and accurate, and it sets the stage for the rest of the essay. And most importantly, the vocabulary is clear and precise. It's not filled with fancy, complicated sounding words. Let's take a closer look. These are pretty straightforward words. I'm sure you know them all. Smoke, despite the fact, harmful to their health. To date, banned, public places, prohibit, private properties. 2 key reasons, affects non-smokers and impacts the environment. But don't let me mislead you. You can't just use simple words. You will need to use less common words to get up from that 5 to a 7, or 8, and even 9. But you need to keep in mind 2 things. Your word choice needs to be topical and precise. So what do I mean by topical? This means that the words are especially suited to the topic. For example, imagine I get the topic to speak or write about crime. Then you might use words like these: commit a crime, criminal, inmate, homicide, incarcerated, judge, jury, justice system, juvenile delinquent, law, offend, reoffend, prison, recidivism, recidivist, recidivate. This is what I mean by topical. These are words about crime that we would use to write about crime. Now, imagine you've got to do a writing about the environment. Then you might use words like these: air pollution, atmosphere, biodegradable, biodiversity, carbon footprint, dumping, ecosystem, emissions, fossil fuels, habitat, litter, recycle, and you get the idea. If you want to learn more topical vocabulary, including words related to education, then you can download the topic toolkit from the link in the description below. It will also include a model essay and IELTS speaking topics to practice with. And keep in mind that if you sign up to E2 Test Prep, you get 20 topic toolkits on a variety of topics with word lists, model essays, and speaking prompts. Topic-specific vocabulary is critical, but you can't just throw these words into your writing and think that that's going to get you the high score. You also need to be precise. But what does precise mean? Let's take a look at another paragraph with imprecise vocabulary. Cigarette inhalers not only disintegrate their own physical condition, but also the robustness of others in their vicinities. Inhaling the exhalations of smokers, also known as passive smoking, has long been known to be cataclysmic to non-smokers. While it is intractable to cease passive smoking from transpiring inside smokers' own dwellings, it can and should be stopped in communal places. Effectuating an unequivocal prohibition on cigarette puffing is a single way to accomplish this, which would improve everyone's state of health. We fix this stuff at E2 all the time. It looks like it's sophisticated and really advanced, but it's actually really difficult to read and understand what exactly the writer is trying to say. Let's take a look at the scoring for this writing. This essay was filled with poor word choice. It would be lucky to get a 6. Let's take a closer look at this student's word choice. Cigarette inhalers disintegrate physical condition, robustness, vicinities, exhalations, cataclysmic, intractable, cease, transpiring, dwellings, communal places, effectuating, unequivocal prohibition, puffing, state of health. The simple rule is, don't use words you don't fully understand. Clarity is key. Everything you write needs to be clear. Sometimes you will need to use a more sophisticated or advanced word, but it's going to be the right word at the right time for the right meaning. Now, if you need help with your vocabulary or general English skills, subscribe to our other YouTube channel called E2 English, where you can build these skills. Now, are there any other issues with this paragraph? The answer is no. Apart from the poor word choice, it's actually quite good. The grammar is correct, the ideas are clear, and the position is strong. But even the good parts are distorted by the poor word choice. So let's change these words to clear, natural-sounding words. Cigarette inhalers not only disintegrate their own physical condition, but also the robustness of others in their vicinities. Smokers not only destroy their own health, but also the health of others around them. Inhaling the exhalations of smokers, also known as passive smoking, has long been known to be cataclysmic to non-smokers. Breathing in secondhand cigarette smoke, also known as passive smoking, has long been known to be devastating to non-smokers. While it is intractable to cease passive smoking from transpiring inside smokers' own dwellings, it can and should be stopped in communal places. While it is difficult to stop passive smoking from occurring inside smokers' own homes, it can and should be stopped in public places. Effectuating an unequivocal prohibition on cigarette puffing is a single way to accomplish this, which would improve everyone's state of health. Implementing an outright ban on cigarette smoking in all public places is one way to achieve this, which would improve everyone's health. Can you see the difference here? That first paragraph is almost unreadable. It doesn't make sense because the words are off topic and imprecise. That's the main thing to remember. The word choices you make must be on topic and precise. So the clear paragraph is going to get us an 8 and maybe even a 9. Let's do a little more practice so you can be confident. Let's take a look at the next paragraph. In addition to physical carnage, smoking also strikes the ecosystems in negative ways. Many cigarette smokers are unenlightened that their cigarette butts often end up in landfill or worse, the maritime areas. These scrapped butts, which contain malignant materials, are sometimes consumed by animals and aquatic creatures, or pollute the land or H2O in which they atrophy. This is yet another reason why governments should embargo cigarette smoking in all public areas. Yikes! Again, great ideas, great structure, great grammar, poor word choice. Let's clean it up. In addition to health damage, smoking also impacts the environment in negative ways. Many cigarette smokers are unaware that their cigarette butts often end up in landfill, or worse, the ocean. These discarded butts, which contain toxic materials, are sometimes eaten by animals and fish, or pollute the land or water in which they degrade. This is yet another reason why governments should outlaw cigarette smoking in all public areas. Much better. It's almost unrecognizable. It's completely clear from the beginning to the end. Now we can start getting up from that 6 to hopefully an 8 or a 9. Let's take a quick look at the conclusion. The debate about whether to ban cigarette smoking in all public areas has gone on long enough. Because smoking endangers non-smokers and damages the environment, it is imperative that the government outlaws smoking in all areas outside of one's own home and does so immediately. What did you think? Was it clear or unclear? Hopefully, you found that clear because the word choice was on topic and precise. Okay, that was a lot, so let's recap what we've learned today. First, learn topical vocabulary, and you can find 20 topic toolkits on E2. Second, use topic-specific vocabulary. And finally, make sure your word choice is precise. Thanks, everybody. Don't forget to download the topic toolkit down below. My name is Mark. Thanks for watching.